Commissioner Arevalo, Commissioner Berlin,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris-Free, Commissioner Johnson,
Here.
Commissioner Linball,
Here.
Commissioner Mombadi,
Here.
Commissioner Mangum,
Here.
Commissioner Marinchev,
Here.
and Chair Puctel.
Here, with 7 present and 2 absent, we have quorum, and we can move on with that. Also present tonight from city staff are Development Services Supervisor Jeremiah Bebo, Senior Planner Sam Hubbard, and Assistant City Attorney Brian George. This is a formal hearing, and there are rules that govern these proceedings. Anyone who wishes to address the commission on any matter on the agenda tonight will have an opportunity to do so at the appropriate time. For cases, our procedure is to hear from staff on the documents on file and then receive testimony and other evidence from the applicant or appellant. Any person with a legal interest within the defined notification requirements of the subject property may then present evidence, submit questions for the applicant or appellant, or seek a continuance of the hearing. Please be sure to sign in on the public comment sheet. If there are many people signed up to speak, commission rules allow the chair to limit the amount of time for each person's testimony. I have the sheet up here. Looks like about 6 people have signed up. Is there anybody who's planning on, from the public, to speak tonight that did not sign up? Okay. All testimony will be taken under oath. When testifying, please state your name and address for the record. All testimony from presenters and members of the public, including specific questions for the applicant or appellant, shall be directed to the commission. Although we do not follow strict rules of evidence, please limit your testimony to the proposal as it relates to the standards within the zoning ordinance and staff memorandum. These meetings are audio and video recorded, so it is critical that only one person speaks at a time and that the speaker is at a microphone so that all testimony provided is properly recorded. We expect a high level of decorum to be maintained during these meetings, which includes preserving the right of every person speaking tonight to do so without interruption. Thank you. Accordingly, reactions from the room, such as cheering or booing during or after testimony, are not allowed. Those unable to maintain decorum will be asked to leave. When all testimony and statements have been heard, the applicant will be given the opportunity for rebuttal or a closing statement. Then the commission will close the record and begin deliberations to consider the standards. The commission will make formal findings of fact based on the testimony and evidence presented, guided by the standards, the commission's knowledge of the community, and the recommendations of staff. All proceedings are subject to broadcast at a later date. Any matter not concluded at tonight's hearing will be continued to our next regularly scheduled meeting or to a date certain. There are 5 items on the agenda this evening. 2 that were continued from the July 8th meeting, and 3 more that are new business. Are all the applicants for the cases tonight present? Yes. Please raise your hand if you're one of those people. Okay, thank you. Okay, now I will do the oath. I'll now conduct the oath statements for both in-person and virtual attendees. If you plan to provide testimony in any of the cases scheduled for tonight, please raise your right hand and say yes if you agree with this statement. Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you will provide in connection with this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes. Thank you. The first item of business is review and approval of the minutes from the June 24th meeting. Commissioners, are there any edits or comments?
Yes, I have just a couple. First, I don't recall if Commissioner Johnson was here for the approval of the minutes. I know he was here for the minutes as well, because he is listed as being absent on the top of page 6 or page 2 of the minutes, and I believe he voted in favor of the minutes. Second, under D, new business, the first line, Chair Puctel proposed flipping the agenda order to hear new business first instead of fist. And on the toward the bottom of page 6 of 16, which is There's just a typo in the next to the last full paragraph where Mr. Asaro is cross-examining Emily Nash. It's just in the 5th line up from the bottom. It just should be it should be on abutting streets instead of an O and an N. And finally, just for the sake of clarity, on the second full paragraph on page 8 of 16, Commissioner Marich has asked for an explanation regarding the conflicting parking study evaluations between, I think, just take out the word "to," between the Kimley Horn parking report and the CLOA analysis, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Any further comments or edits for those June 24th minutes? Okay, can I have a motion to approve?
I move that the minutes from June 24th be approved as corrected.
Moved
Second.
Moved by Lindwall, seconded by Commissioner Mangum. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Abstain? Thank you. And that passes. Thank you very much. Okay, we will now move to the first case on the agenda, which is the 1632 Sheridan Road. And let me just say that for these first two cases that we're going to see for old business, both of these have been continued from the prior meeting. And although evidence was heard and a vote was taken, we did not have 5 concurrent votes at that time in both cases. So what I'm going to be doing is asking the commissioners who were absent at the prior meeting if they are ready to take a vote on those this evening, and then we'll log those going forward. Okay. So by my count, that is Commissioner Berlin and Commissioner Pucktel. And Commissioner Johnson. Thank you. Okay, everybody clear? All right. So there is a motion on the, so for the first one for 1632 Sheridan Road, there is a motion on the table, pardon me, to approve the appeal of the appellant. And that's what the remaining commissioners are going to be voting on this evening. Okay, I'll start.
To approve, so vote in the affirmative is to overturn the zoning administrator's initial ruling.
Correct.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes.
Well, vote in the affirmative. Vote in the affirmative is to allow an appeal, and then the next vote would be to overturn the, right?
Right now, there's a motion on the table for 1632 Sheridan Road.
Yeah, that's correct. So the motion right now that's on the table is to approve the appellant's request to appeal the decision of the zoning administrator. And then if the commission does vote to approve the appeal, then you will go through the standards for a minor variation and make findings on those standards.
But sorry, haven't the standards already been discussed?
They were discussed as matters of the public hearing, but the commission did not make findings on those standards because the commission first is charged with making findings that the zoning administrator made either an arbitrary, erroneous, or ill-considered decision when making their decision on the minor variation.
I'm confused. I thought there was already a motion on the table, which was reflecting the discussion of the standards.
That motion did not reflect the discussion or review of the commission's review of the standards. The code states that the commission must first, here, I can pull up the section of the code, bear with me.
Can I take a stab
Yeah.
at explaining where we are?
Yep.
If the homeowner wants to appeal, that's sort of like step 2. He can appeal or not. Step 1 is, the only way he can appeal is if we decide that the zoning administrator ruled either erroneously or right.
Well, hold on. No. The applicant has appealed.
Yes.
Yes.
They've applied for an appeal. Yep.
Yes. And we are voting on whether or not to grant that appeal.
Correct. And then
So and then after that vote, you're saying we then also have to go through the standards?
should the commission decide to approve the appeal, then you will go through the standards for a minor variation.
Okay. I see.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Forgive me. Thank you.
That's okay.
Okay. All right. Well, then I will go in order of alphabetically. Commissioner Berlin, have you reviewed the packet materials and are prepared to vote on this case?
Yes.
Okay. What is your vote?
I vote not to grant the appeal.
Okay. Commissioner Johnson, have you reviewed the case materials and are prepared to vote?
Yes.
And what is your vote?
I vote not to grant the appeal.
Okay. I will ask myself the same question. I have reviewed the materials and I'm prepared to vote, and my vote is also a no. So that is 3 additional no votes, which brings the total vote 2 to 6 to not grant the appeal. So at this point, that is a determination of this body, and you can follow up with city staff for next steps. Okay, next case is the townhomes on Central Street. Same process here. There is a motion on the table to approve the major variation with the conditions as stated in the prior meeting's packet. And I will go through the commissioners who were not there at the last meeting. First, Commissioner Berlin, were you able to go through the meeting materials and are prepared to vote tonight?
Yes.
And what is your vote?
I vote to approve.
Okay, Commissioner Johnson, have you gone through the materials and are prepared to vote tonight?
Yes.
And what is your vote?
Vote to approve.
And finally, myself, I have reviewed the meeting materials and I am prepared to vote, and my vote is also a yes. So that additional 3 brings that vote to 7 to 1. So that is an approval for that major variation. Thank you very much. You can also follow up with city staff for next steps. Okay. That brings us, so that is all of the old business. And now the next case we have is a major variation at 1432 Asbury Avenue. Is that applicant present? Great. Can you please come on up and state your name and address for the record and tell us about your project?
Sure. My name is John Wilson. Address is 3915 North Kenneth Avenue in Chicago. I'm the architect representing Deirdre and Bob Jordan, the owners of the property. Our request is to reduce the side yard setback along Lake Street from 15 feet to 5.83, which is 5 feet 10 inches, to extend the wall of the 12-foot addition in line with existing residence. The 2 factors in terms of our request for the major variance are that we are, which you can see on page 40, we've done a survey of the properties all along the street, and we're the closest to the property line. So that's a consideration, and the other consideration is the physical facts of the existing stair inside the residence prevents us from extending the kitchen inside the residence, but our intention is to set up the preparatory kitchen along the line of the house, and then the new kitchen across the side of the house, joining to the family room. So that's the nuts and bolts of our request.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay. Is there anybody who came here tonight from the public to speak on this case for 1432 Asbury Avenue? I'm not seeing that in the sign-in sheet. Going once, going twice. Okay. Any questions from commissioners?
Yes, I just have one. This has been before the Preservation Commission, I believe,
Yes.
and they've approved
Yes.
the, okay, that was
Which
my
brings
question.
us here.
Okay, thank you.
All right, no other questions from commissioners? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the record is now closed for evidence on this case. Deliberations. What do commissioners think?
I'll start. I believe this is a reasonable request. I mean, basically what they're talking about is just extending the addition along the existing lot or building line, which I think is appropriate. It's been before the Preservation Commission, and I think that any, objections to that would have been, well, maybe they would not have noted, but I think that that's it's a reasonable request. So I'm supportive of the requested variation.
Any other comments from commissioners?
Just that I concur.
Okay. In that case, I will move to the standards for approval for a major variation. Yes. Okay, there are, how many standards here? 7. What I'll do is I'll go through them and summarize what the consensus I'm hearing from the group, and if you disagree, I'll pause and you can vocalize that. The requested variation will not have a substantial adverse impact on the use, enjoyment, or property values of adjoining properties. As we saw in the packet, this property is already legally non-conforming, and they're simply extending that same non-conformance that was already present. The requested variation is in keeping with the intent of the zoning ordinance, allowing people to improve their lots with a degree of lenience from this group. The alleged hardship or practical difficulty is peculiar to the property, as it was already legally non-conforming. It was not created by the homeowner themselves. The property owner would suffer a particular hardship or practical difficulty as distinguished from a mere inconvenience if the strict letter of the regulations were to be carried out. If they were to be carried out, that would be a weird addition onto their house, which would be a bit of an eyesore and not really just for their project. The variation is not based exclusively upon a desire to extract additional income from the property, or while granting of the variation will result in additional income of the applicant, and while the applicant for the variation may not have demonstrated the application is not based exclusively upon a desire to extract additional income from the property, the Land Use Commission has found that public benefits to the surrounding neighborhood and the city as a whole will be derived from the approval of the variation that include but are not limited to any of the standards of Section 6363 public benefits of this chapter. There is no purpose of this add to extract any additional income. The alleged difficulty or hardship has not been created by any person having an interest in the property. This homeowner did not create the situation. The requested variation requires the least deviation from the applicable regulation among the feasible options identified before the Land Use Commission issues its decision or recommendation to the City Council regarding said variation. And we saw that they're not trying to deviate more than what is reasonable. Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion for a vote.
I move approval of the requested major variation for 1432 Asbury, case number 26 ZMJV-0036, with the staff recommended condition that the applicant constructs the associated improvements as described in their application materials.
Moved by Commissioner Linwall,
I second.
seconded by Commissioner Berlin. Mr. Bebo, can you please have a vote?
Commissioner Berlin,
Yes.
Commissioner Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lindwall,
Yes.
Commissioner Mombadi,
Yes.
Commissioner Mangum,
Yes.
Commissioner Merenchev,
Yes.
and Chair Pucktel.
Yes. With a vote of 7-0, that motion passes, and the request for the variation is granted. Thank you very much. You can follow up with staff for next steps.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that brings us to the final two items on the agenda for tonight, which we'll kind of treat together, but we'll likely need to have two separate votes on once we get to that point. I've also been made aware that for this case, there are members of the public who are planning to request a continuance of the case. So we will plan to grant that at the end of the evening. So that what that means for tonight is that we will still go ahead with hearing the case in terms of hearing the applicant's presentation and also all of the public testimony as people have signed up. But we will not go into commissioner questions or deliberation. We will save that until the continued time of the case.
I have a question. Usually we ask or can ask questions before the public testimony. Are we changing that process?
You can ask questions.
We can't
It's really up to
deliberate.
the
I know
chair. You can't-
we
you're
won't
right.
deliberate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in, if you have a burning question, we can talk about that, but I am interested in trying to save all of the questions for when we've heard all of the evidence together from the applicant and the public and the folks who will be requesting a continuance. But we'll see. Okay, so with that, Mr. Bebo, can you please read the case into the, Sam, please read it into the record.
The applicant and property owner, 2722 Green Bay Road LLC, requests approval of a special use for a planned development and a special use for a commercial indoor recreation facility, along with a text amendment to the zoning ordinance to modify the language of section 6-15-14-10 relative to eligible site development allowances in the OCSC Central Street Corridor Overlay District. The request would allow construction of an approximately 57,000 square foot, two-story commercial indoor recreation facility with 51 off-street parking stalls on the subject property in the C2 Commercial District and OCSC Central Street Corridor Overlay District. As part of this application, the applicant has requested 5 site development allowances: 1, to allow a 55-foot building height; 2, to allow a 1.06 floor area ratio; 3, to allow encroachment into the transitional height plane on the western side of the site; 4, to waive the pedestrian area requirements along Green Bay Road and Jenks Street; and 5, to waive the requirements for 1 short loading berth on the subject property. The applicant may seek, and the Land Use Commission may consider, additional site development allowances and zoning approvals as may be necessary or desirable for the proposed development. Section 6-3-4-8 of the zoning ordinance allows special use requests, when made in tandem with requests to amend the zoning ordinance, to be combined and considered as one application and reviewed simultaneously. The Land Use Commission makes a recommendation to the City Council for this case, which is the determining body for this application, in accordance with Section 6-3-5-8 of the Evanston zoning ordinance.
Thank you. Can the applicant please come up to the lectern and tell us about your case?
Thank you. Good evening. For the record, my name is Katie Jenke-Dale with the law firm of DLA Piper. We represent the applicant for this matter, which is an LLC, but is wholly owned by the Ishbia Family Foundation. Go to the the agenda. So in just a minute, I'm going to introduce Eric Lynn, who's the CEO of the foundation. He'll introduce the overall vision for the project. We'll then have Brett Taylor from Gensler Architects go through the project plans. I'll come back up to wrap up with the project timeline and community benefits. And then we also have Brendan May from KLOA, our traffic engineer, here tonight. So with that, I will ask Eric to come up to the lectern and he will go over the project overview. Eric?
Thank you, Katie. Good evening, commissioners. Thank you for hearing our case this evening. My name is Eric Lynn. I lead the Ishbia Family Foundation. The Family Foundation is founded upon 3 pillars. It's to support the community in healthcare, in education, and in youth sports. Indeed, the Family Foundation has worked around the Chicagoland community in each of these, and specifically working with other foundations on youth sports. Our address, for the record, and also for this conversation, is our office right down the street here, 1603 Orrington. We are happy to have our office here in Evanston and want to be able to help the youth of the Evanston community, which is the purpose of this facility. So the intent is for us to privately fund, through the foundation, an indoor sports facility. We have purchased, through the foundation, the vacant Office Depot property at 2722 Green Bay Road. It was vacant for a great deal of time, I believe over 18 months, almost 2 years, and we had searched around the Evanston community for that property. What I wanted to state, just introducing this project, is that there's a strong need for this here in Evanston. There is currently no indoor baseball, softball, flag football, and soccer facility that the youth of Evanston can currently play in. There are other facilities not equipped for baseball, but equipped for other sports that are wholly owned privately and charge large sums of money for youth to be able to play sports indoors in the wintertime. Obviously, outdoor sports are not able to be played in winter, which is why we believe this is very important for the development of both the youth, for teamwork, sportsmanship, and all of the positives that come with playing on team sports in Evanston and the surrounding communities. Not only is this filling a community need, but it's also activating a vacant area. We heard from many neighbors around that the Office Depot was closed for some time. Not only had it become empty for the commerce for the community, but also had become somewhat of an eyesore of an empty building, and people want to see buildings along their road. This is also built for neighborhood compatibility, and Brett is our architect who will speak with his expertise about what that means, but the intent is that there will be no loud sound. There's no outside fields. This is indoor only. There are no bright lights that are shining outside or around the facility, and it's intended to be a neighborhood facility for the youth of Evanston to be able to play indoors when it is too cold or too rainy to be able to play outside in their sports. And then the fourth point of what we view from the foundation's perspective is one of partnership, and that is that we look very much forward to partnering with the with the youth sports programs here in Evanston, to include baseball, softball, soccer, and flag football that currently have been craving an indoor sports facility and do not have one. Kids can only play outside, and kids in other communities or those with the means to drive very far or fund it themselves are playing inside. Why are we building this? First, we heard from families all across the Evanston community that there's a big need for this. There's a need because of the expense, and there is a feel that I guess the phrase I would use is that the haves have the opportunity to play inside and the have-nots do not. They can play outside, and if they want to play in wintertime, they're playing in the snow. And that's something that the foundation does not believe in and wants to help remedy. Also, we heard about drive time. Even those that have some means to be able to play indoors, if you want to have a facility for a specific sport, such as baseball, which none exists here in the city of Evanston, you have to drive about 45 minutes away, 25 miles to play indoor baseball. We heard from many families, and maybe some that are actually here tonight that want to speak in favor of this as well. Community access, very important for us because of the distance that those that are here will be able to access the community. That's via vehicle, via bike, obviously via transit, as the Metro is near there as well, and the CTA. And then activation. Part of the foundation's pillars, why we care so much about youth sports, is because of our work on health, and that kids need to be active. We want kids to be healthy. We are wanting kids to not only receive a great education, but also have the opportunity to be active. And as a parent of kids myself, it's much better for them to be playing sports than playing video games and other things that are indoors. And that's really what's important for us, is that we can give the opportunity for the community and the youth of Evanston to have an indoor sports facility like other communities have, and one that does not exist currently in Evanston. I think what I would like to conclude with, and then pass it over to Brett for the expertise as our lead architect, and I know all of you are experts as well on the building for the plan development, is that the intent of the foundation is to provide for youth sports here in Evanston, and to help the community have a facility that it currently does not have, and to make sure that not only is it helping kids grow and to learn what's so important about sports, but that also they are kept safe. We've done a lot of research with other indoor sports facilities in the Chicagoland area and around the country to ensure that the way that this is being built is safe for the children, most importantly, safety first, and their ability to be able to come in and out of the building, and to play sports there while they are safe and protected. So I thank you for your time, and look forward to your questions in the future if you have any, but I will turn it over to Brett Taylor at Gensler Architecture. Thank you very much.
Hi, good evening. My name is Brett Taylor. I'm an architect with Gensler Architects. Thank you for having me here today. I'm going to take you through a brief design presentation. I think we already know, as we said, the site is an existing Home Depot. Was it Jewel before that? Or I always say Home Depot, Office Depot, with the existing parking lot of 51 spaces. You can see it used to actually have parking on the rooftop of the existing building in its previous life. The site plan, the intent of the building footprint is to reutilize the existing footprint of the existing building. While we are demolishing that building, we are keeping the existing footprint for the new construction. We are reusing the existing surface parking. We will repair and obviously make the stormwater compliant with all the ordinances. For site access, this is something that we thought very hard about. When we looked at other facilities and interviewed operators, one of the biggest concerns was child safety. And there has been many documented incidents of parents dropping off kids within parking lots and being struck by cars. So it was our strong belief that finding a way to provide optionality and safety for kids is why we are now proposing to add a curb cut from the alley access for drop-off, which then would be signed to no stopping, standing. We don't want people to park there on the alley, but we do want to provide a safe access for the drop-off, and then have exit only at Green Bay Road, which is currently an exit entry and left turn, right turn, all those, so we're trying to provide optionality. Jenks Road still has the existing curb cut, so people that are choosing to park and wait for their kids to arrive or to finish, they would still have the optionality to park and wait for their kids to really try to alleviate the congestion of the alley for people that are waiting. We don't want anybody stopping or standing in the alley to prevent any kind of hardship for the residents that also use the alley for their purpose. The landscape plan, we have worked with the city zoning. We really are looking at preserving the majority of the trees and repairing the landscape that is currently there. There are some invasive bushes that are not surviving, so we really looked at a really robust way of natural landscaping and really enhancing the landscape that's there. There are 3 trees that we would be relocating that are in red, which will be relocated on site. As we said, there is a variance for the height, but something to keep in mind is that the western side of the site, we do have some translucent windows that are there to provide natural daylight during the day, but they prevent light from spilling out. So it's really, we're being really sensitive to the neighbors to our west. You can see that the height of the windows is about 39 feet, much shorter than the 45 feet of like what is the typical height allowance. And you can see typical trees are about on that alley are between 55 and 65 feet. We really feel strongly about using this translucent material. Not only is it sound absorbing, it allows daylight, which helps us in energy conservation, but it does really prevent light from spillage. There's a couple examples of buildings in Evanston, the Robert Crown facility, the Levy facility, that have the same cowl wall or translucent panel system. And it really has, I actually went out on Monday and measured, and I got about 3-foot candles at night from those 2 panels. So it really doesn't transmit any light outside of its footprint. The building itself is really a split level. So we're utilizing an existing basement to provide another spot for youth soccer. But so as you enter on the ground level, you have the option to go down to the basement level or up to the main play field. And on the ground level, we have batting cages, kind of a concession area, seating, bathrooms, and then the stairways and elevator that take you either up or down to the play fields. Again, the lower level is designed for the field sizes for U8 fields, so 8-year-olds for soccer. We have the room for 2 fields on the lower level. And the upper level, again, this is where the height comes in, that the typical standard for, is about 30 feet clear. So when you take out structure, this is where, to be able to play baseball within the facility is where that height variance is really crucial for us because of the just the minimum standards that you need to be able to play indoor sports. So that's where the height really comes from, is really providing those 2 fields. And then we obviously want it to be multi-purpose, so flag football. We actually have full soccer fields. So depending on how we stripe it, you can have different types of activities on the 2nd floor. The exterior is really, we tried to really work hard to reduce the scale of the building, especially on Green Bay Road. We worked really hard with the city to really look at how to decrease the scale of the building and create kind of a regular pattern to the building, but also give it some depth and texture, so it's not what they call like a sheet wall, and really trying to really be contextual to the Whole Foods that's to our north and some of the other buildings in the neighborhood. The entry, again, we're really trying to make sure we mark the entry on Jenks. We will have clear glass along Green Bay Road and Jenks just to provide activation on the road. You will see people batting cages, you'll see people playing, you'll have a really clear entry to the building. This is just a context. You can see our building in context with the Whole Foods to the north, and then you can see the context of the building, the Hollywood feed to our south. This is the 2nd floor, showing just the space that we have to play baseball. We have 2 mezzanines. Some of the FAR requests that we have is we're trying to provide a safe viewing platform for parents. So we have a mezzanine level that's around 3,500 square feet. That's what's kind of driving our FAR over the limit of the 1.06. and then the basement level that has the youth soccer, which also has a viewing platform from the ground level. That's all for the design. I'm going to turn it back to Katie.
Thanks, Brett. And for the record, Katie Jinkydale. For the project timeline, while the foundation acquired the property just earlier this year in January, that was after a pretty extensive search to try to find a location, or this location that would work for this type of facility. We're really hoping that we can get demolition going ASAP. We've been working with city staff on that and get going on construction later this fall so that we can be open for the 2027 playing season. As you can imagine, with a youth sports facility, it's limited to the constituents it can serve by age. And ironically, some of the youth that probably when we first started the search are probably going to be aged out by the time we open next year. So we really are hoping to move quickly through this process in construction in order to, start getting kids in the door as soon as next fall. And I'll just go through a couple. I know that Eric went through a lot of the community benefits pretty extensively at the beginning. There are a couple on this slide that I wanted to flag that kind of relate to some of the conditions in the staff recommendations, which I should have led with. I was remiss to not thank staff for all their hard work, and it really shows in the comprehensive report that was in the packet. Two of them. One is we're still working with staff on the extent of the alley reconstruction, given this is a foundation and we're trying to make it accessible, not just physically by location, to Evanston residents and surrounding communities, but also financially accessible. So we're trying, the extent of the alley restoration is still being discussed, which I know is a condition, but we definitely will at least repair anything that we cause. Then the second item that came out during the process is we were meeting with various stakeholders, notwithstanding this facility being owned by a foundation, we are committing to not take the property off the tax rolls as a nonprofit. So there's a condition in the staff report about that. We just had to clarify, we were a little unclear on it, that the condition really is to not seek tax exempt status, which is correct, but we would still have the rights that we all have to appeal if we needed to. But other than that, we that staff's recommendations were all very well thought out, especially with respect to some of the concerns we heard as we went through a pretty extensive community outreach process. With that, we'd take any questions you may have. And we understand there's a continuance request. We will work as quickly as possible to address any comments that we hear tonight and continue to hear. We just request that we get back here as quickly as possible, preferably in August. But with that, we will want to say thank you for your time and consideration. I know it was a pretty hefty staff packet, and I know this commission takes their job seriously in reviewing it all. So we have all of our consultants here if you have any questions. But thank you.
Okay, thank you. So what we'll do now is we'll move to public comment. And then, yes, we will have an opportunity once we've heard all of that to ask questions, since we've prepared for tonight to do so. So with that, I have two lists of folks that have signed up for public comment and possibly some more online. We'll take a look if anybody's there. What we'll do is we have about, let's see, 6, 10, about 16, 17 people that all want to speak. So we'll allot 3 minutes per person. I'll have a timer up here, which I believe you can see up at the lectern as well. When you come up, just state your name and address for the record. And then, Jeremiah, do you want people to mention when they're at the lectern about whether or not they have they intend to provide a continuance request, or should we save that till the end?
They can do it during their comment.
Okay.
If they want.
So if you plan to request a continuance, you can come and speak for your 3 minutes, and at the end, mention that you plan to follow up with city staff to formally request a continuance. And we'll track all of that. Okay. First is Sherry Mermont, followed by Mabel Crescioni.
I have a question. Can somebody that's going to see
Sure.
I'm not sure how this works. Do I hit the timer, or do you hit the timer? How does this work?
Let's see here. Pardon me one moment. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, just real quick. I love this idea. My house is.
Sorry, what's your name and
sorry,
address?
Pamela Swenson, 2709 Prairie Avenue.
Got it.
Okay. And my house is on the alley, like the backyard. I love this idea. I've coached sports for like 30 years, roughly. And I work with student athletes all the time. I'm so excited. My only concern is the drop-off for kids and what that looks like in the alley near my yard. So that's all I have to say, and I'd just love to have that deep dive conversation just for that part. Okay, thanks.
Okay.
I'm gonna see my time to Sherry.
Hi, do you want my handouts? Okay. Thanks.
Okay. You state your name and address.
Sherry Maremont, 2683 Prairie. I back up on the proposed facility. Thank you to the committee for considering our comments. I support the development of the Office Depot property into an indoor sports facility. I think it will be an improvement to the Green Bay Central Street corridor. My request is simply that, as a good neighbor, the Ishbia Foundation make one minor modification to the plans currently being proposed and install motorized window shades. The proposed translucent cal wall panel on the upper portion of the building's western elevation will cast significant light into the backyards and bedroom windows of the homes immediately west of the property. The foundation is requesting a variance to exceed the maximum building height. This additional height will allow the cal wall panel to be both higher and larger, increasing the amount of light trespass on the neighboring properties. This evening photograph shows the cal wall system installed at the Levy Center. A similar illuminated panel would be located approximately 16 feet from the neighbor's eastern property line and an additional approximately 17 yards from the bedroom windows. The back window here is about 17 yards from where you're sitting right now. So you're in your bed and that's what you're seeing. The proposed translucent panels will be 35 feet high and 124 feet wide. If it's difficult to imagine the impact of this level of illumination in your own backyard, CalWall describes the nighttime effect of its product as glowing like a lantern when backlit at night, provides beautiful backlighting and wayfinding for the local community, and glowing softly at night and creating an illuminated neighborhood landmark. The residents whose backyards and bedroom windows face this building do not want a glowing lantern, backlighting, or an illuminated landmark outside their homes. Moreover, this is not a residential product. The CalWall website does not feature any installations adjacent to residential neighborhoods. The City of Evanston Building Code, Title V, Chapter 1, Section 513 amendments defines light trespass as light emitted by a luminaire that shines beyond the boundaries of the property on which the luminaire is located. Chapter 4, Section 402.4 states, exterior lighting shall not cause light trespass and shall protect adjacent properties and public ways from glare and excessive lighting. Light level at any property line is limited to 1/2 foot candle unless otherwise regulated by code. 2.5 foot candles was recorded outside the Levy Center using a handheld light meter application, which is 5 times the code specified limit for exterior lighting. Because the foundation is already requesting variances for both building height and encroachment, it does not seem unreasonable to require a modest mitigation measure that protects the adjacent neighbors from light trespass. For example, requiring motorized shades over the CalWall panels during evening hours would significantly reduce light trespass while allowing the project to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Mabel Crescione, followed by David Cook. Mabel? Okay. David Cook, followed by Ron Kramer.
David Cook, 2683 Prairie Avenue, Evanston. I back up on the alley that would be directly to the west of the
Please
proposed project.
lift the mic up here. Thank you.
I would. Did you get the rest of it?
That's good.
Thank you for your work. I really appreciate it. I support the development of the former Office Depot property into a youth sports facility. I oppose, however, the site design because the traffic circulation plan will cause a queue of vehicles to form in the existing 16-foot wide public alley, blocking access for residents, refuse haulers, delivery vehicles, and local businesses. There's a concerning discrepancy regarding the width of the alley in the submittal. In their original submission to community development, the plat of survey identified the alley as 20 feet wide, while the existing conditions and proposed site plan drawings show the alley is only 16 feet wide. After neighbors pointed this out, the foundation did not verify the actual width through a stake location survey. Instead, they swept the issue under the table by omitting the plat survey from the submission to the Land Commission, and the alley dimension was removed from the proposed site plan. Actual width is critical to their plan because their design relies on public alley to queue vehicles dropping off and picking up children. I have a drawing, and it's one in your packet that was just handed out. It's the top one. With more than 80 vehicle trips per hour anticipated, it's virtually certain, despite the conclusions of the applicant's paid traffic consultant, that multiple vehicles will queue in the alley. Other users will be unable to pass. Several residents measured the alley and found it to be around 16 feet wide. At that width, a single stop vehicle effectively blocks the entire alley. As you can see here. This is also a picture in here. Under their design, the public alley would function primarily as a private staging area for the foundation's patrons, preventing their other lawful users from accessing it. This conflicts with the city's code of ordinances governing the use of public rights-of-way. The neighbors have already proposed a practical alternative. We submitted an alternative parking lot layout to the community development and to the Land Use Commission. And that's the second drawing. And it shows how we can keep the queue on their property, and you can keep the same right-handed drop-off and everything else, all the safety requirements, and keep people out of the alley. The plan accommodates a comparable number of parking spaces while keeping the anticipated vehicle queue entirely on the foundation's property. Whether this design or another similar solution is adopted, this plan demonstrates that the traffic queue can be accommodated in the facility's parking lot without blocking the public alley. It's unacceptable for the foundation to promise that it will revisit the issue if traffic problems develop after construction. Preventing the obvious problem now is far easier than attempting to correct it later. Once the parking lot is built, redesigning the site will be significantly more difficult and time-consuming. In the meantime, all other users will pay the consequences of a blocked public alley. For these reasons, I respectfully request that the Land Use Commission continues or rejects the submission until the foundation submits a revised parking lot plan that keeps their queue on their own property. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the extra time. I'm sorry.
All right, next is Ron Kramer, followed by Brian Reagan.
Hey, I am Ron Kramer at 2013 Livingston Street, Evanston. We also support this project. It'll be really great for the community, and we live on the corner right across from Gerber, on the opposite end of the alley. And I'd like to speak to we've been there for 38 years, and I kind of know the traffic patterns and what has been the amount of traffic that goes through the alley, and all the delivery trucks that go to Whole Foods, and all the trucks that go for Gerber when they're moving around all the cars. And the proposed alley access will pretty much just block the alley completely. And it seems like the plan is very optimistic, in that people will do what they want to do. And they said, there's really no policing. And a similar situation was at St. A's, where they had to redo the whole plan because of all the problems that were ensuing. So I would just like to, if you can reconsider the previous plan that we submitted and see if we could figure out a different solution for this. Thanks.
Thank you. Brian Reagan, followed by Mary Rosinski.
Hi, good evening. My name is Brian Regan. I reside at 2703 Prairie Avenue. I want to start by first saying that really grateful for all the great work this commission has done in the past. And much of what the foundation is proposing sounds fine. So I really want to zero in on one discrete piece of it, which is the alley access. Specifically, the proposed use of a public alley with a public right-of-way that would essentially, as you've heard, been taken over for a private purpose. This alley block is regularly used by a wide variety of users. There are, of course, the residents who have garages facing onto the alley, some of whom would have their cars trapped in their garages by this proposal. And there are also Whole Foods trucks that making deliveries several times a day during the same time window as the proposed pickup schedule for the athletes. And these trucks from Whole Foods, they can only get to Whole Foods by going up through this alley. Then there are the LRS trucks serving residents and businesses along the alley. ComEd and Xfinity both have lines in the alley. There's a gas line underneath as well as storm drains. And of course, Evanston City staff needs unhindered access to the alley. In particular, police and fire vehicles need to have immediate access at all times. But all of this activity will be blocked under this proposal. Why? Because the alley just isn't wide enough to support simultaneous two-way traffic. You've heard that the working assumption is that the alley is 16 feet wide. As context, as you may know, large food trucks are 10 feet wide, same for waste pickup trucks, same for fire trucks, and passenger vehicles are 6 feet or more in width. But the foundation's view of this being 16 feet doesn't actually reflect the current reality, because when I go out there with my handy measuring tape and measure it, the blacktop space is only 13 feet wide, whereas the other 2 to 3 feet, it's in the green space that Office Depot was using and that the foundation apparently wants to continue to use. So the actual width is closer to 13 to 14 feet, making it totally unworkable for two-way access. The alternative you heard from Dave poses none of these harms, offers all of the benefits and with equivalent costs. Yet so far the foundation has been resistant. So maybe it's not too early to close by asking, if the foundation drives Whole Foods away, it will become the third grocery store in that block to close in the last 10 years. First Jewel, then Dominic. And if Whole Foods closes, then we will all lose, because we will lose those jobs and we will lose all that tax revenue, and then the shoppers will have a longer drive time. So you need to ask, is that wise public policy? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mary Rosinski, followed by, having a hard time reading this one, Martin Nomastet. Forgive me.
Hi, my name's Mary Rosinski. I live over on Chancellor. I'm about 1,100 feet away from the property. But I do support the concept of the project. I think it'll be a great asset. However, our planning has to not allow pickup and drop off in the alleys. Alleys are an important circulation tool for as you've heard from everybody, I don't need to repeat their comments, which was really a lot about the first part of my my speech, because you just can't have children getting in and out. And you know how, if anyone has kids, I had 5 kids, and they were in sports things, and I brought them all over. When they're in a hurry, they're going to get out, they're going to run, or you're having them come in from the facility. Everything should stay within the site of the plan, of the ownership, and the public alley belongs to the public. Because if every one of those alley residents chose a home business, and then they could use that alley to have their people stop in for 15 minutes just while we're waiting to get something, no one's using that alley. So I think what applies for one person, it's a public alley, it's not for the use of a private individual. And I think you don't want to start setting a precedent which allows anything different than that. But I think we can redesign it. I think they can work with it, and I think they can make it safe for people coming in and out within the confines of the parking lot. I also did measurements over there, and between the two poles, which are right across from each other, actually is only 12 feet. So, and that's going right past the middle of the building. So people leaving are going to won't even be able to get through. So I think let's keep the alley for the garbage trucks, for the residents, for all that. My second concern is I am very much of a supporter of a dark sky ordinance in Evanston. And as much as those luminescent things seem really great, they are really light pollution. And I think if you want to keep them on the inside, do. But I love the suggestion here is that you just have dark shades when it comes at night. I don't know if any of you have the honor of going down to the Lighthouse Beach and are able to enjoy the orb that Northwestern has put on the lakefront. So, and I wouldn't want to see that on Green Bay Road. I don't think we need more light pollution in this town. So I hope you will look at that too. So no parking in the alley, no using the alley for primary. And then better to plan ahead to prevent problems than to say, hey, let's create a problem and then figure out how to solve it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. After you, sir, will be Cam Adams.
Hi, I'm Murray Norkett, and it's a privilege to follow Mary. Believe me, I'm here wearing two hats. One is deja vu. I spent 20 years on the Plan Commission, EDC, and TIF Commission here in Evanston. In all three commissions, we always had one underlying rule. What's the best for the whole, not the parts? And this is really represents all of the city of Evanston. The other hat I wear is I'm a commissioner of EDC, the baseball. And, you know, talking about, you know, in April and May, these poor kids out there in the rain, this solves the rain problem. So it's all about the kids in Evanston. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Cam Adams, followed by Kevin Davitt.
Good evening. My name is Cam Adams. I reside at 2421 North Kimball in Chicago, speaking in support of the youth sports facility at 2722 Green Bay. For by way of background, I'm the general manager of the Wheaton White Sox in the Metropolitan Collegiate Summer Baseball League of Illinois, a college summer baseball league. That league's been operating since 1978, includes clubs from across Chicago, including clubs that play here in the northern suburbs. We give college players generally between the ages of 19 and 22 years old a place to continue playing and developing during the summer. I'm not an Evanston resident, but as we all know, youth and amateur baseball and sports in general operate regionally. Players, coaches, families regularly cross municipal boundaries looking for fields, practice spaces, and opportunities. A major part of my job of running that program is finding places for players to practice and compete. And without a direct connection to a travel baseball program, this access is extremely limited. Here's what 5 years of really has taught me, doing this has really taught me. It's reliable access keeps disappearing. Schools, parks, park districts, private operators like travel baseball teams have their own programming. Outside groups increasingly get squeezed out. Arrangements that once worked out with a phone call now require multiple layers of approval, and eventually the space becomes unrentable. This past spring, I had a full roster of players and a published schedule, and in a different area, I lost access to a rental just weeks before opening day. That's kind of been the pattern in youth sports. And that's just outdoors. Indoors, the problem's much worse. There's far less space, and most of it, what exists, it's travel team controlled, expensive, and book solid. I see the consequences from the far end. Every year I evaluate college baseball players, and by then much of that divide has already happened. That dividing line isn't really raw talent. It's how many swings, throws, repetitions a player gets between November and April. Going back to when that player was 10, 11, or 12. In this climate, winter development has to happen under a roof. Families who can afford private travel programs, which often provide their own facility access, can keep their kids in the batting cages and progressing through the winter. For many families, joining an expensive child program effectively is the only way to get dependable access. Families who can't afford it lose those. Repeat that for 7 or 8 years, and the access gap eventually looks like a talent gap, when really it was just a result of having a place to keep working while another group doesn't. I know the value of access personally as a youth baseball player growing up in Northern Illinois. I traveled to Racine, Wisconsin for my baseball. That's why I think this facility matters. It create more capacity for practices, training, clinics, and the regular weekend development most useful to local players and families. I consider myself a steward of the game. Part of that responsibility is supporting opportunities beyond my own team and my own community. This facility would create more opportunities for young athletes to participate, improve, stay in sports long enough to find out what they're capable of. I respectfully ask you to recommend approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Kevin Davitt, followed by Charlie Tyson.
Tilson.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good evening. My name is Kevin Davitt. I live at 913 Michigan in Evanston, and I'm here to support the proposed facility. I think of myself as representative of a constituency in Evanston of parents that are in the enviable position of being able to make 45-minute drives to support a child that loves to stay active. A couple of things stood out to me in this hearing. One of the recent points about what is best for the whole town. And I think that's something that certainly needs to be considered and weighed against considerations of nearby use. And then the other thing, the support for health, education, and access to youth sports, I think they all go hand in hand. And the prospect of having access to something like this, where it's readily available, not a 45-minute drive away, all of those things can come together. I think about my 12-year-old son and how everything is kind of linked in a better way to remaining active, time management, and I think access to facilities like these play a big role in that. I cede my time.
Thank you. Charlie, followed by Jackie McCabe.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to get up. I am Charlie Tilson. I'm a Wilmette resident, but I grew up in Wilmette as well, and my sports upbringing intersected with Evanston quite a bit. I had a father who could not wait to get me and my brothers involved in community sports, so we went to Evanston for the Coach Pitch League that started before Wilmette. We went to Evanston to play basketball in the Small Fry League, and I am so grateful for those opportunities because sports ended up shaping my entire life. I ended up being drafted by the Cardinals and made it to the major leagues with the Chicago White Sox, and I really agree with the comments that were made about opportunities for athletes who really have big aspirations, but I also think it's worth mentioning that this would provide opportunities for all kids. I think like when I look at the 8U soccer fields and the pictures of these fields, it looks like 7 and 8-year-olds playing. And I believe that sports provides such an unbelievable opportunity, not to learn the fundamentals, but to learn real life lessons about resilience and teamwork and overcoming failure. And I now operate my own baseball business, and I also spent a year volunteering at Northwestern. So I think this community is amazing, and I know there's tremendous athletes in this community. And I just, I know that there's such an opportunity with sports and great coaching and a beautiful facility to really impact lives and to also bring the community together. I think like sports facilities are a hub for connectivity. It's not just the kids, it's the parents. There's memories and experiences that are unforgettable, that happen in games that kids and families will carry with them for the rest of their lives. So I'm here in support, and I think this will be a great opportunity for Evanston. Thank you.
Thank you. Jackie, followed by Patrick Theos.
Hi, my name is Jackie McGuire. I live at 2024 Ewing Avenue in Evanston. I am Finn Davitt's mom. He's in the back row there. He's a rising sixth grader headed to Haven Middle School next year. For a little background on me, I grew up with a deep love for sports and the unwavering support of my parents. When they realized at a young age that I lived and breathed ice hockey, my dad took me to the local rink before school nearly every day to work with development legend Rafe Abar and help my skills. He taught me that it's the extra work outside of team practices that really sets you apart, which is what someone was just saying. And that commitment ultimately helped me earn the opportunity to play Division I hockey at University of Connecticut. Fast forward to now, having a sports-loving kid with a passion for baseball. Like so many families in Evanston, we spend a lot of time driving to nearby towns so our kids can put in that same extra work. Hitting lessons, fielding reps, strength training, and team practices. Especially during the winter months, those commutes through brutal Chicago weather can be exhausting and limiting for families. There are nights where quality reps means driving 45 minutes or more each way in the snow, freezing rain, or rush hour traffic just to access a facility. Opening a local baseball facility in Evanston would be such an incredible asset for our community. It would give kids a place to grow, develop confidence, stay active, and truly thrive, whether their dreams are as simple as making their school team or as big as playing at the collegiate or professional level someday. It would create a positive environment where young athletes can learn discipline, teamwork, resilience, and healthy habits, all while being surrounded by supportive coaches, teammates, and families from our own community. Every morning, Finn likes to watch a YouTube series called A Day in the Life, where they follow a rising baseball stars through their daily routines of working out, practicing, eating healthy, and chasing their goals. He's watched the episode featuring local star Ethan Bass dozens of times. In it, Ethan makes the long drive to a dome in Lockport to get his infield reps in. And I always joke with Finn that he better be prepared to make that same drive one day if he wants to chase his dreams. Having a facility like this in Evanston would change that. It would allow kids to pursue their passions close to home, together and within the amazing Evanston community. And what makes this idea even more special is that it would be created and led by athletes who have been there, achieved success at the highest levels, and now want to give back to the community that raised them, here in Evanston, not in Lockport or Bensonville, but our own community. It would give families more access, more opportunity, and more time spent developing our kids. More importantly, it would create a space where young athletes can work hard, dream big, and truly flourish. And I will add, currently at his baseball facility that he goes to, that is in Wheeling, they don't have a drop-off situation, and it's just a parking lot, and that is kind of a bit of a nightmare, just for what it's worth. Thank you.
Thank you. Patrick Theos? Nope. I'm having a hard time tonight reading names. Amian Holmes?
Hello, how y'all doing? My name is Amon Holmes. It's all good. I really didn't prepare anything, but I am in support of the building of this facility. I'm actually the trainer for Finn back here. I've been in Evanston since 2020, and Evanston has welcomed me with open arms as a coach and as a trainer. I do strength and conditioning and speed work with a whole bunch of youth athletes. One of the biggest problems that we do have is the winter situation. I have a son myself. He plays soccer. He's played for Jabat here in Evanston, and we've had a great community that just took us in whenever we want to play soccer here. And it's been hard. But I've seen kids go and sign pro contracts at 15 with Chicago Fire, Jason Nemo, Robert Turdine, just another kid that I trained, DeAndre Beckford. These kids they have to drive an hour 15 just to go out and train at these facilities, and it's really tough on the parents. And if we could have something close, I'm pretty sure that we can make something work as far as like the parking situation, the alley situation, whatever it may be. Yeah, that's all I have to say. I'm just fully in support, and I hope this is something that's great for the community as well.
Thank you. Okay, I have David Cook on here, but I think you already spoke, right? I already spoke. Okay.
I'll speak again. I got more.
Okay, is there anybody online that is expecting to speak? One more opportunity. Anybody online, if you want to unmute? Okay. With that, that concludes public. Was there anybody that was planning to speak that did not sign up? People that raise their hands? Okay, we can still do that. Sorry, I can't hear you.
I signed up, but I guess my name's not on the list.
Okay, well, why don't we do it now?
Hi, my name's Stephanie Ingstrom. I live at 2207 Jenks Street at the corner of Jenks and Prairie. So I just wanted to address some of the claims and data points that appear in the application package. There were some, and by the way, I'm not in support of this facility. There were claims in the application package that it furthers the goal of Envision Evanston without getting any specifics. Other than tenanting a vacant building. I think a better use would be to increase housing opportunities, which is a stated goal of Envision Evanston. We're not in a sports field availability crisis, we're in a housing crisis. Neighboring Wilmette is addressing both housing needs and the fact of aging obsolete buildings along Green Bay by building mixed-use buildings that draw more residents or provide more affordable options for current residents while promoting walkable small business. A mix of uses along the Green Bay corridor, as the Community Development Department paints it, is not the same as mixed use and does nothing to solve housing issues. The March 20th city comments on the zoning analysis encouraged the applicant to reach out to the Central Street Evanston group, and there's no mention of whether this was done. I also wanted to address the parking and traffic. The application says the development would be less impactful than the large retail establishment that previously operated on the property. I've lived at my home for 6 years now, and I think that they said the daily total during the afternoon was 78 trips, something like that, for an office supply store. I've never seen anything approaching that amount. Traffic would trickle in, the parking lot would barely be full. So I'm not sure where they got that data. The traffic study says the intensity is less than for a grocery store or retail. Retail is a very broad class. It might be less impactful than a Target, but would be much more impactful than pet supplies or a clothing store. The traffic study occupancy and trip numbers also don't take batting cage patrons or food service employees into account. They only account for players, coaches, and 2 employees. I think that moving the entrance from the driveway on Green Bay to Jenks Street will not make any meaningful difference in the traffic backup, as it's hard enough to turn onto Jenks with the way patrons leave Whole Foods alternating with the light controls on Isabella. And the alley drop-off pickup, as all of my neighbors have mentioned, will definitely block residents from using their garages and will impact access by businesses to their loading, parking, and rear entrances. 51 parking spaces for a 55,000 square foot facility is simply not enough. Applicant is proposing to double the square foot of the building and reduce the currently available parking of 59 spaces. The TOCA facility in Southern Evanston has nearly 80 spaces for a 65,000 square foot facility, and that's not enough on game days. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yes, one of you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Danny Lee. I live on 1202 Chestnut Avenue in Wilmette, about 5 minutes from where the sports complex would be. And I recently graduated from Loyola Academy and will be heading to Indiana University next year. Growing up in the Evanston-Wilmette area, I was constantly playing sports outside with my friends. And that being said, in the winter, we had nowhere to play, and if we did want to play, it would be in the snow or the rain and freezing cold weather. With practically no indoor turf areas near, it was difficult to continue playing the sports we loved in the winter. And like many have said, the only available indoor baseball and soccer and football fields are around 40 minutes away and all the way in Rosemont. And I know for one thing, my parents were not big fans of that drive many times a week. This project would solve that issue that I know so many others have. And additionally, I'm a firm believer that kids should not be on devices and rather be outside playing activities with their friends. And this would also solve that issue. Although my time playing sports is coming to a close, I want all the younger athletes to experience this amazing opportunity. I can only imagine how much fun we would have had throughout grade school and high school. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Michael Crawford. I live at 104 Doobie Place on the border of Wilmette Evanston, right off Isabella. I'd first like to thank you all for taking the time to listen to my peers and I. I'm an incoming freshman to the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. As a child, I was always wrapped up in athletics, whether it was baseball, football, or soccer. I love spending my time playing the sports I love with my closest friends. However, for many sports, the wintertime brought challenges. Forced to be inside during those months, baseball, football, and soccer were usually out of the question. The one option for us kids to play baseball was at the Dome, a sports facility in Rosemont. Growing up in the Evanston area, this trip was often 45 minutes or more, and being children, our parents were the ones bearing the burden of making 90-minute round trips for drop-off and then another 90-minute round trip to pick us up and get us home. When I moved on from baseball, my parents were sad to see me move on from the sport I loved as a kid. However, they were relieved to never have to make those tedious trips again. Additionally, during the winter, I was involved with flag football. While I only played 2 short seasons of flag football, I have many distinct memories being bundled up in a winter coat, gloves, and hat for games. I can recall many of the games that were played in snow, huddled around heaters on the sidelines with my friends. Once I heard about the plan for the sports complex, within a few minutes of my home, I knew it was something worth advocating. This facility would be instrumental for the development of young athletes in the area and would save their supportive parents from the long drives, as well as provide a warm shelter area for the youth involved with flag football. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Okay, seeing none, why don't we have the applicant come on back up and we can have questions from the commissioners on the proposal.
Do you want to have the commission make the motion to grant the 4 continuances, or did you want to do that after?
I didn't hear anybody say they wanted to.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just
Did we forget?
just the 4 that we have written that were written into us.
I see. They were submitted.
Yep.
They were submitted in advance.
And we've verified all 4 of them do lie within the 1,000-foot mailing radius of the site.
Okay.
And have all their information on the record. And if you want to do that first, I'm happy to read them into the record. Whatever you prefer.
It doesn't really matter to me. I mean, I think we can have our questions, and then we'll make sure to get to the continuances.
Got it. No problem.
Yeah. I'm sorry, sir.
I asked for a continuance also pending some.
Okay, you'll have an opportunity at the end to make sure you log that. Okay, thank you. Commissioners, who would like to begin with some questions?
I will. I just really have 2. First, I don't know who's going to do it, but I'd like to get the verification of the alley width. I drove it. I believe it's more likely 16 feet rather than 20, but
So it is 16.
16
there is
feet.
a survey in the packet, and we've walked it too. it is not incorrect that based on some of the conditions and encroachment, is a little unclear, but we did have a surveyor go out and
It's
and
16
confirm.
feet.
Yeah.
That would be my thought. I live on a 20-foot alley, and it seemed narrower than mine with an
Your
equal number
observations
of,
were correct.
of issues. I think my one question in the packet somewhere, it said that the lights would be off during. Are the lights going to be off at night, or are they going to be on and glowing?
So we, other than for safety purposes, if we need to leave some on, just in case
for cleaning,
we're currently, this is really a youth facility, targeting kids probably around 13, 14, just given the size of the field. So our target operations would be shutting down around 8:30, clean up at the end, but we have no interest in leaving lights on overnight. Just costs money.
Because I think that's one of the issues, and I guess we'll have a continuance.
Of course,
so you can answer this really later. But I think it would be helpful to have like a cutoff, like it wouldn't be like an hour after the last game or whatever the timing is, because again I'm in a the lights glow, and even though the trees are going to block it during the summer, they're not going to block the glow from the lights in the winter. And I think a reasonable period of time when they're off. I live very close to the university, and there's a university facility where the lights are on pretty much all night, and it is distracting, and it is a problem. So that is something that, again, I hope that between now and when you're, after the continuances, you'll consider
certainly
some sort of a condition that would alleviate at least some of the concerns about lights. And I think the other thing that I hope you will do is look at the proposed parking, drop-off situation that the neighbors have proposed, and be able to provide some indication as to whether or not that's a viable alternative, and if not, why not?
Certainly. We've heard different feedback, and so we definitely are open to hearing questions from the commission, and knowing we're coming back hopefully in August. We'll dig into those. So thank you.
Those are my two areas of most concern, and I think that it is important that they, specifically with the 16-foot alley.
Yep. Thank you.
Commissioner Berlin.
Hi, and thanks for taking the time this evening. I have a couple of questions, so bear with me. Like the idea a lot. I am coming from the perspective of having a kid who does a lot at Robert Crown Community Center. The child in my family who's athletic, ice skates. So that is a big community center that I'm thinking about a couple of questions. One is, I understand the neighbors' concerns about the alley, the volume of cars coming through something, and this idea that they wouldn't have access to their garage and that it could create a chaotic. Robert Crown has very limited entry and exit points. They are just off of Main Street, which is another relatively busy road, the same way Green Bay is. So I would echo the concern or the request to think a little bit about alternative ways to consider addressing the neighbors' concerns on the alley. Likewise, echo the request on the light. But I would be curious to know, I know that you all requested waiving the pedestrian requirements on Green Bay Road. I'd be curious to hear specifically what you're asking to waive and why. Typically, I think it's good to have something be pedestrian friendly, especially as we try to think about discouraging driving as much. On-foot access seems like something that could be helpful. I've tried to walk on portions of Green Bay that don't have a sidewalk, so if that's what we're talking about, that's pretty tricky. So I'd be curious to hear about that.
Yeah, and I'll ask Brett to come up as well in case he has anything from kind of an architectural standpoint. So that pedestrian streetscape requirement is specific to the overlay. It's my understanding, and I think staff had also outlined this, that even though it's in the overlay as a requirement, it's pretty consistently not been done, especially along Green Bay. And so what we're proposing is to keep the street frontage along Green Bay, consistent with what Office Depot had historically, not to eliminate a sidewalk. We'll definitely still have a sidewalk, but it would be consistent as you go up and down Green Bay with both what's there today as well as what you have to the north at Whole Foods.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then the one other thing I'm curious to hear a little bit about is, there's this framing, which is that sports should be affordable to everyone, right? And so one of the things you all are really looking to do is try to serve a portion of the community that otherwise potentially can't afford this sort of facility. I'm just curious to know what that's going to mean in practice. Have you already spoken with Parks and Rec Department about having certain programs there? Anything you can give me to understand better what that looks like in practice?
Yeah, we're pretty early in some of those discussions, but they have started both working or speaking to different leagues. There was a little confusion about which was the City of Evanston League and which was a private one. But we're out there speaking to the whole community. Given that this is going to be foundation owned, that really differentiates it from some of the other private profit seeking ownership models that you see in the marketplace that we've heard from families charge very high prices that are very cost prohibitive. We're still working through what that operations model is going to look like. We basically are going to try to apportion the cost or the prices that we charge to kind of break even. So part of that actually goes into this process, and that alley line item that we talked about, that would drive up the cost of the facility. We'd have to charge a little bit more, but the idea is that we would have some private leagues and some private users that can't afford to pay kind of higher rates. They would pay what they can, but then make sure that we're working with the local community leagues that maybe would not otherwise have access to indoor sports facilities, and offer them use of the facility at a discounted rate. Again, we still have to be able to keep the lights on and the facility appropriately staffed, but as a foundation nonprofit ownership model, it still is going to pay property taxes. That's what we're working through right now with our operating model.
Oh, okay. At the risk of saying something you might already know, in which case you can be like, yeah, we already know that. Robert Crown has had to do some of that as well. And they've negotiated where there are private leagues who have some very prime ice time, and they pay significantly more than city programs that have less prime time, but have a much discounted rate to use the same facility.
Yeah,
Just
I'm not sure. Have we done?
FYI.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
I think that's it. That's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Mabadi.
First of all, I think your project is wonderful. I think it's an absolute plus for the community. I think we should try to figure out a way to do it. These lots, these commercial lots that are long, narrow lots, which you can see running, along Dempster, Main Street, Oakton, all the way from Evanston to Des Plaines, are tricky pieces of land because they're buffered with residential people, residential zone properties. So that has to be valued into the conversation. And that's where I have a struggle. I have a real hard time overcoming the alley issue that was discussed here. And I'm really happy that the citizens came here with the idea of trying to find a solution, not just kill it in the crib. I mean, I think this is really a great project. We need to try to find a way to get it worked, and the people that are asking for a continuance, it's a blessing because it gives you an opportunity to rethink this and figure out a way to make it work. So I have a few questions after my little diatribe. This, if we said that we're going to pull the parking in, like the gentleman's pamphlet that he gave us, where the parking was actually on the driveway, rather, off of Jenks was coming in on lot, inside the lot. It looks like it cannibalizes some of your parking. Is that part of the reason why you're asking us to consider an alley access?
I'm going to have Brett come up to add on to this. So I know it showed parking. We have no intent of having any parking or staging in the alley. I just want to be very clear with that. We know that's not allowed,
No,
and
I
so
get that,
we're
but
not at all proposing
You may
that.
not have that intent, but that could
Yeah.
be the effect of a high traffic input. That could,
yeah.
And
I understand.
I don't want to
that's-
debate the
No, I know.
the merits
And I know
of
we're
the
gonna have
alley
to-
with you because I'm not even
Yeah.
there right now. I'm jumping ahead,
Yeah.
assuming that you found the wisdom to put that inside your lot. I'm asking you, how does that affect your design?
So it wasn't necessarily the loss of parking, although we would have to study the geometry of it and whether the main thing that stuck out to us with that plan was it would require a curb cut, a fairly wide two-way curb cut, kind of immediately adjacent to an alley, which I think the city code doesn't even allow that type of proximity of a curb cut next to a public way.
Where?
At the north, or at the plan north, so I guess it would be the west side of that proposed alternative where it's pushed to the west.
But
that
it's
would,
already there, though. There's an opening there right now.
yeah, but there's just more of a separation given if we have that line of parking on the west side. Am I describing it right?
Well, that lane of parking would be with this gentleman's proposal, and I don't know the code well enough to comment on it, but it looks like what we're talking about is creating a traffic lane on lot in your lot to bring it in for a left turn into a drop-off zone.
Yeah, and we'll definitely study it. I just wanted to clarify, it's not a loss of parking that stuck out to us on the plan when we saw it in the public comment. It was that proximity of the curb cuts rather
Well,
than.
I think you will
so.
lose parking by doing that.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm headed. So my
Understood.
question to you is, one of the concerns about this lady here was mentioning the inadequacy of parking. By adding a lane on inside your lot, you will lose parking. So at least that's my guess. We'll find out. My question about that is, how many people do you have working at this facility at a given time that needs parking? Because we see all this parking here, but what does that really mean? Because I don't quite understand your business model. So I don't know if you have groups of people coming in with coaches, with buses, with vehicles that are going to be there and then leave and another group come in, or do you have 15 staff members eating up 15 parking spaces? I don't know. Can you opine on that?
So, no, the buses would be if we were going to be hosting tournaments. We have said throughout the process, we will not be hosting tournaments. That actually, it will be practice, primarily practice in Little League games with staggered start times. The staff on site will be quite limited. I know that we're showing a little snack area. That's going to be Gatorade and popcorn. There won't be, a large snack bar. So that is why we're asking for the parking or the loading to be eliminated. And then also as far as kind of just given the nature of the fields, it's pretty limited how many people can be playing on each field at a time. So that coupled with the staggering, we think we have adequate parking with the limited staff, the limited amount of players that can be on the various fields all at one time. And then I don't know about you guys, but my parents never parked and stuck around when I was playing youth sports. They dropped me off and came back or sent me with a friend. I was usually the carpool kid. So we do expect that will be a lot of people that drop off, go down to Central Street, come back and pick up the kids later, or send them with another family. So we're pretty confident the parking, at least as currently proposed, we do need to study some of these alternatives that have been presented tonight, will be sufficient based on all of those factors.
How many people are going to be working at this facility?
Yeah, we're still working on the operations.
Well,
we
this
think
isn't your first dance though. So
yeah.
Are we talking 1 to 5, 5 to
at
10,
a time,
10 to 20?
Definitely wouldn't be 20, maybe 5 or under.
5 or under.
Yeah.
So then really we're talking about a handful of parking spaces.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out, because if it's not too much of a impact on if the staff does not overly impact the use of the parking space, then it might be possible to put an interior driveway on site so that you're not using public public roadways for as a private driveway for your business. That's why I'm trying to figure out a logical way for you to think about doing that. The second thing I wanted to ask you, and that will be all I have tonight to discuss, is could you please expand upon the real estate taxes that you were discussing? Because you said that you're gonna pay tax, but then you reserve the right to discuss this later. I'd like to know what that means.
So we anticipate or have projected that we would generate about $300,000 to $350,000 in annual property taxes. We early on had been talking to Property Tax Council, I'm not one of them, about whether or not as a foundation-owned facility, a property tax exemption would be available. Again, going to the point of increasing access if the costs come down, because then we can offer more discounted rates. We heard pretty clearly and quickly that it was important to the city of Evanston that this property stay on the tax rolls. So about over a month ago, we made kind of that public announcement at our community meeting. And we weren't surprised to see it as a condition in the staff report. It just was a little oddly worded, and that it came off as that we couldn't appeal our property taxes, which is pretty common practice. But we talked to staff and clarified with them that their intent was not to prohibit appeals that are available to any taxpaying property owner in the county, but just that we wouldn't try to do an end around and get the property reclassified as something other than a standard commercial use. So we're fine with that. It just, as worded, was unclear to us. I don't know, staff, if I explained that correctly.
Is that your understanding?
And no, that's correct. That's correct. It's just the intent is to make sure that's being assessed at a fair market value, but they would not be handcuffed to not filing an appeal just like anybody else if they feel that their assessed value is shown higher than what they believe the fair market value is.
100%. I mean, that's normal business practice. The question I'm having, though, is there any situation where in 10 years they could come back and say, we want to be exempt and not pay taxes? Is that available to them?
Not with this condition. No, they would have to come back to city council.
I see. So
or if it got approved, they would have to come back to city council to amend this condition.
City council would have to unwind that. Then if that's
exactly
what they wanted to do at that point.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Commissioner Miranchov.
Hi. First, I think it's a great idea. Good location, great purpose. The question is once again the things that could be improved. Back to the parking and the alley. I think that not only the alley access, but the layouts of both your original idea and even the proposed by the neighbors, they have one more flaw, I would call. Can we put the parking on the screen? Somewhere in the beginning, I believe. There's something really, let's say, practical. The first row that is closest to the building of parking spaces where the handicapped spaces are. Mm-hmm. Imagine really practical. First, people that come first will probably take these places, these spots that are over there. Then another family comes and tries to go there. And it's busy and it is occupied. What do? They have to go out on the street and find another parking space. That's really a problem. The same thing happens with what the neighbors proposed. There are the same number of parking spaces over there. But once again, imagine, and this is very, very probable, that these will be occupied. But next driver will try to get to these spaces, and then he or she will have to go to the street. So that's something that your design team has to resolve, because it's a practical difficulty. The next thing that I wanted to ask you, you mentioned that, and in the presentation, there will be no tournaments, and I understand that, and that your age will be below high school.
Mm-hmm.
So does this exclude at all buses? Because you don't have parking space for a bus.
There's nothing in our current plan to have buses.
Yeah, that's fair enough. If you say there will be no buses, I will accept that. But I'm just asking because if you happen to have bus transportation, you're out of parking space for a bus. Maybe some thinking about that. The third question is about the building height. This is another problem that some of the neighbors mentioned and that I want to ask. Is the building height, the ridge height, something that is decided because of some kind of code requirements, of the sport regulations, or it's just observations and practical issues?
It's 100% dictated by the use of the building and being able to get the clearance in order for the kids to hit a baseball inside it.
No, for me, let's say the clearance, the site clearance is not such a big issue, but the overall building height, it's really kind of out of the scale of the buildings around it. So that's why I'm asking, is there an option that you can lower the overall building height?
I think we've tried to lower it as much as we can operationally, but we can come back next time and demonstrate that more.
Once again, yes.
Wasn't answered tonight.
If there is an option, I would appreciate that, because this is something that the neighbors also suggested. And my last question is, I know that there is a 5-foot setback requirement to the south, and you have it. What are you going to do with these 5 feet? This is usually a problem with buildings that have blind wall on one side and then you make a setback. This becomes something that is always full of trash.
Oh, yeah, you come up here.
I mean, this is an age-old problem. I mean, we need the setback. Practically and just feasibly. But I mean, we'll have to study whether we gate it or provide a way to just.
I'm asking the question once again, absolutely practically. I know the regulations. Besides, you have a fire protection 5 feet also, and that's why you have this blank wall on the south, which is another not so pretty thing. But if you come up with some ideas how to use these 5 feet and how to make the south elevation better, this will be appreciated by everyone.
Yeah, we can study that. I just, how it works practically is a challenge for sure.
Commissioner Johnson.
I have a question about those translucent panels. I don't know if this is a you question or your architect question, but whoever's the most appropriate person to speak on this. What are your thoughts about mitigating the light trespass, particularly out of the west side of the building, so aimed towards the houses across the alley? Can you give your thoughts on that?
Sorry, I mean, we feel really strongly about using this material just because of the transmission of daylight in is super critical for us, especially just trying to be good stewards of energy conservation and those things. I mean, I understand the concern. The lantern effect is as you view it, you will see a glow of light, but the light transmission is negligible. Like it does not transmit light out. Like they did measurements. I went out and did measurements at Robert Crown. I did measurements where they did at Levy, where 15 feet away, I'm getting 2-foot candles. So, 2-foot candles, 15 feet away. If you look at the trees, and Dodge Avenue is a residential street, and you have houses right across the street from their translucent panels. When you look at the tree line, the trees are literally not illuminated by the translucent panels. Like you can stand there and see that the light isn't even hitting the trees that are within 15 feet of that facade. So that's my professional opinion. Like, we use this system all the time. We never see light transmission past a few feet, and it's 2-foot candles at most.
And just, I mean, I haven't measured Dodge Avenue, but I imagine it's wider than the alley behind the.
No, but if you stand 15
Right.
feet from the face, which is the alley width, it's dark,
Yeah.
even in front of that panel.
So, in your professional opinion, having these metal shades or louvered blinds on the exterior of the building, is that unnecessary, or?
I mean, we feel it's unnecessary. I think also when we talk about the operational use, something that's going to be 8:30 or 9, and the lights are going to go off, and we talked already about that, about having that as we can discuss that as how the stipulations work. It's when you think of like the interior of the space and use it for a practical purpose of sports, like it sounds easy, but it feasibly to do blinds at that scale is really infeasible.
Yeah, and I understand. I've heard what you've said about using the lighting when the facility is occupied, and I, in good faith, believe that in what you're saying. It's just when in any city you go around and you see lights on in office buildings, retail buildings, and I don't work in those fields. I don't know if that's for janitorial services to do their jobs overnight, or if it's for security.
Yeah.
But just I think the neighbors raise a legitimate concern about, will the lights actually be off at all times when the building is not in use, and will the building not be in use in extended hours, given the tremendous amount of demand that we hear from the supporters of this project. I know at places like ice arenas, there's odd ice times where people are skating at like 9, 10 o'clock at night, or hockey teams are practicing in the middle of the night. So it would be a great problem to have if the facility is so well loved that operating hours are extended into later times, and or the lights are on for some kind of operational facilities reason. And so that's why I'm kind of asking these detailed questions about that light trespass, just the sake of
Again,
the
it's outside of my pay grade to talk about the operational uses.
Sure,
of that.
yeah, I understand.
But I know that the system does not transmit light past its envelope.
Okay.
They can disagree, but it's.
Can I ask you, just also in your professional opinion, in the use of this type of translucent material, if in buildings that have a landscape buffer, is it common practice to have arborvitae or some kind of foliage adjacent to these translucent panels? Have you seen that in your other designs, or work with this?
I mean, I don't think it's one or the other. I mean, if you look at Levy Center, it doesn't have, it has, the translucent panels don't have landscape around it. Robert Crown does. I mean, when you look at Loyola Academy, which is a swim, which has it, they don't have landscaping. It's facing more, residential neighbors. So, I mean, it's a system that I don't think one necessitates the other. Yeah. But I mean, we think it's a really appropriate material to use for all kinds of reasons. It's bird friendly, it's sound dampening, it's insulative, helps us meet the stretch code. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to use that material.
Yeah, and I appreciate the utilizing natural light for environmental reasons, and as well, I want to commend you for the skylights as well. So that using that material also. Moving on from that, I just want to ask you a question about something else, the roof. We heard about the roof and the operational height of the roof being necessitated by the type of activity that's inside, having space to hit a baseball.
Correct.
I read in Design Evanston some of their comments preferring a barrel roof rather than a gabled roof. Can you speak to that decision? Or plus minus of either way?
I think that, the gable roof allows us to have obviously a mean height of 55 feet by the code, so it actually is bringing the height down. If we barreled to get that same height, we'd be taller and actually more intrusive to the skyline of the neighbors to get the same height with a barrel than we would with a pitch.
Okay.
So
I'm not an architect, but it seemed like there was at least some of the experts on Design Evanston preferred aesthetically the barrel roof to soften the height of the building, even though I understand what you're saying, that it might mean the actual height, measured height, is higher, but visually it would be a softer effect.
Yeah, I think that's an aesthetic. That's an aesthetic that I think you could probably debate both ways. I think having the pitch lower than 45 feet, where it actually faces either Green Bay or the west side, and then pitching up. I think because the roof is sloping away, I feel like it's less intrusive to the neighbors at a higher height, because the height of the pitch is towards the middle, where it's almost imperceptible from the neighbors to the west.
Okay.
If it was barrel, you'd be closer, right? That height would actually be in closer proximity to the neighbors.
Okay, I understand that. Would the barrel roof be preferable from a baseball performance aspect? I'm just trying to imagine the volume of hitting.
I think in the perfect world, yes. If you did a barrel and you had unlimited height and you didn't have neighbors, then you would probably look at something that's more of a barrel, depending on the structural system. But I think these constraints, the gable is more appropriate.
Okay. Question about Green Bay Road, and I understand the kind of physical limitations as far as complying with the wide sidewalk and the hardscaping, which not a lot of parcels on Central Street are doing that anyway, not living to the letter of the law there. But would you be willing to consider add more planters or trees or something along Green Bay for the protection of pedestrians? So traffic calming along Green Bay, because I see that we have a couple of trees there, and while Green Bay is a major thoroughfare, there's going to be a lot of kids using this space. Kids aren't always super cognizant of their surroundings, and any kind of traffic calming landscaping I think would make this a better project.
I think we can definitely study that. I think the utilizing the existing footprint it's just the width of the building is just as critical, for us as it is the height. So we are the inside space of our field, and the short end is only 120 feet, which is not as much as we really would even want for the short side of the outfield, and that's putting us right on the property line on Green Bay Road. So any foot or anything that we do just decreases that past the 120, which has really been our goal, to keep that outfield at 120.
Okay.
And so I hear what you're saying, and I think that's why we're being really cognizant to adhere to the letter of the law, and having translucent glass along Green Bay Road, and the activity inside becoming that need of, like, you get activity, so as you're walking by, you have the activity of the inside helping to produce kind of pedestrian safety. You'll see activity going. It's not a blank wall. It's not like walking by, the Whole Foods, you walk by that. It's a blank wall the whole span. You will actually have permeability on Green Bay Road. So I actually think the solution by necessity is going to be a lot more pedestrian friendly than another solution that would be landscape that still was a blank wall. I think this is actually a better solution for pedestrians and activity on that road.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. Let me change to encouraging you to consider my previous suggestion, but not between the building in Green Bay, but between your parking lot in Green Bay.
Oh, yeah.
Because
I mean,
there's
maybe it
space.
wasn't as clear, but I mean, we in this very last iteration, we actually engaged a landscape architect, and we've worked really hard to actually. There's a existing landscape that we want to retain more in the trees, but now we are basically everything that's within our property line is going to be enhanced with new landscaping. So like we're actually committed to doing that, to taking the kind of old dead bushes that are not as kind of friendly and replanting all of our existing landscape. So yes, we're already committing to do that.
Okay, I guess whatever diagram, whatever plan I was looking at, that landscaping looked a little sparse. Not to the extent that cars would slow down enough because there's not enough material there. But if you are planning something bigger and grander, I think that would satisfy the questions that I'm asking along.
I think everything that's green, that we have control over, we're going to over landscape.
Okay. All right. And big and tall enough to get cars to just slow down and look and say, wow, what a beautiful facility this is. And I'm interested in taking my kid there.
Right.
Okay. Last question for you is, and this kind of dovetails off another comment from Design Evanston, but the entry, the one-story kind of entry.
We agree with that. It's something we still have to study. Yeah, it was a great comment. It's not something that we've incorporated yet in this part of the design, but having an entry that at a scale for children, I think, is a great idea, and a canopy or something that signifies the entry a little bit better. Yeah.
Yeah, and an entry enhanced in such a architectural design manner that it is more befitting of the of the scale of the entire building. It almost looks like the existing entry is, they should make this a little bit more monumental given the size, the extent to the activities that are going on inside of it.
Totally understand that. We'll definitely study that.
Yeah, and I mean, I will say, I've been to some of these multi-sport soccer bubbles, and the entry is often just so underwhelming. So
a revolving door. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Mangum.
Thank you. I just have one question about the alley. So currently, there's not access from the alley to your parking lot, correct?
Correct. Oh, it's to the loading. Yeah.
The current loading is access.
Sorry, I misspoke. Sorry. Thank you, Brett. So they're currently in the Office Depot. There is a loading dock back there that they used for deliveries. That's accessed off the alley. So the building that's on the site currently has a loading zone access back there.
Okay.
So I guess we're turning that into a vehicle access point and eliminating any large loading trucks.
So I guess I would say, or I'm wondering, did anyone consider having, maybe people come in through Jinx and then exit Green Bay Road, or enter Green Bay Road and exit via Jinx?
Yeah, and I think when we're back, we can show you kind of pros and cons. We looked at this. This was not just Brett putting together a site plan. We really looked at all different scenarios, including that one, having everything come off Jinx. The real concern, and I can't remember where it was that the speaker tonight said that she took her kid, but we heard the same thing from other youth sports facilities. That they said, if you have the people dropping off the kids coming in through the parking lot, the kids are just going to get out and running across the parking lot. So it really was designed with first and foremost the kids' safety in mind, and avoiding that condition where cars coming into park are waiting for a parking spot. Impatient kid just gets out and runs across while everyone else is parking. And so trying to kind of separate those different types of people coming to access, or users to the site. But it's definitely, we will come back in August ready to further discuss and with additional study of the alley as well, not just showing our work, but our work that we'll continue to do.
Sorry, I have one more follow-up question then.
Yeah.
If you use your parking lot, will you consider like speed bumps or something to slow down the traffic in the parking lot so that if a child gets out and runs out, the cars are not, it's not possible for them
Going
to be
25
going.
miles. Yeah.
Okay.
It's something we could definitely look at as we continue to study it.
Any other commissioners? I just have a few questions. First, just for staff, has there been any communication or did we receive any comments on this project from the Central Street Corridor organization?
No, we directed the applicant to reach out to them, but they did not, those organizations did not communicate directly with the city.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, I thought we did receive an additional comment from that group today.
It wasn't about this project. Well, we did from Jeff Smith, but he wrote that he was commenting as a resident and not as the head of that group. And I think it was actually about the condos that were coming up.
Okay, thank you.
Right, thank you. I have a couple environmental questions. One is under the sustainability and mobility section, it says, where possible, waste generated by demolition of the existing building will be diverted as opposed to going into a landfill or being incinerated. But that where possible part is a little ambiguous to me. Can someone talk to what you actually expect to do in terms of a waste diversion plan?
Do you have anything yet? I don't think we have any level of detail at this time. We're still kind of working with potential general contractors on how they would approach demolition, etc. We can work with that, and also we would be open to providing further detail on that as a condition prior to coming in or something like that. I think I've seen that as a condition here before, but I don't think we have any specifics tonight.
Okay. I would be interested in just hearing, even anecdotally, what some of those details might be.
Sure.
Possibly for the when we continue this.
We'll try to get a high-level summary.
Do you have a question about what I'm saying, or just something else?
Add to it.
Okay. The lamps in the current parking lot. I read in the packet that there's a couple of them, and the plan is to leave them as is. I have to imagine that there's an opportunity for improvement environmentally in terms of shades that cast light in a downward manner, and or ones that comply with the bird-friendly ordinance. Do you see any opportunities for improvement there?
Anything? Something we look at? Okay. We'll come back and let you know. We don't have an answer, but we'll look at that too.
Okay, thank you. And then finally, just to kind of get back to the alley access, it does seem a little concerning to me to have that entrance there off the alley. Similar organizations like we've talked about, like Rubber Crown or other places, it's just human nature. Parents park in all those places where they're not supposed to park in order to have quick access. And it does seem a little concerning to me that drop-off zone and the alley access serving it could become problematic. But I'm more so just curious, why do you think it's needed? Because you already have, for 51 spaces with 2 access points to the alley, are those 2 points not already sufficient? I mean, what is like the incremental benefit that you see from having that alley access?
I don't know if I can. Feel free if I'm missing something from the team. I mean, it's really just like I said, having the people dropping children off coming in one place and not having them come in at the same access point as people who are with the intent to park. So people who are planning to park would come off of Jenks, park, walk their kids in, or go in.
Forgive me, but why do they need to have alley access in order to do a drop-off?
It just is to keep the people dropping off the kids kind of in a separate area. So we discussed with staff and other people throughout the process that we would sign it and, make it very clear. I mean, these are going to be repeat users, I would imagine. So hopefully within a couple times of visiting the site and not getting that close parking spot, they would quit coming in and having to drive around the block.
Yeah.
But so, very quickly, I think people will learn how to use the site. But the real key is the idea, and this was not just our idea, it was advice given to us by other operators. Make sure that you have dedicated drop-off area that is clearly separate from those who are coming to park. So our idea, and we also liked the idea from staff of having the condition that, this doesn't exist here. So let us build it. If there are issues, we'll come back and talk. We don't anticipate issues. We plan on having, signage on Jinx saying parking, enter here, drop off around the block, no standing in the alley. It's not allowed to stand in the alley anyway, but we would sign it as such. We monitored the alley. I know this is in the report for 24/7 for a week to see just how it's used. I understand, but it is a public alley, so we also have frontage on it. So it just seems a little odd that we wouldn't have any right to use the alley whatsoever, given that we do have such expansive frontage on it. And we really do think that's the safest solution for having the various users access the site, whether they're dropping off or parking.
Yeah. I can understand why having the drop-off zone would help with turnover. The packet talked about a 15-minute window between
staggering
those sessions, and you're saying staggered even amongst the different spaces inside. I'm just not quite convinced that you need to have alley access in order to make the drop-off zone work when people can enter from the plan east side. So something to consider. Yeah.
Clear. I'm missing something.
Yeah, sure.
That's all right. I'm happy to respond to the question of why. So there's a couple different facilities that do this. You heard one of the parents talk about Longport, and then also we've spoken with the McCook facility that's in the western suburbs, and the issue they ran into was the same entrance for people parking and people dropping off caused significant safety issues for kids. They had two different incidences in the past. I'll have to check the time, but maybe 1 or 2 years, where children were struck because parents driving to drop off were issues where they were also coming in to park and parents were walking children. So what their number one piece of advice for us was on child safety was ensure that you have different entry points for those parents that are dropping off and those parents that are parking. Because if you look at the Jenks particular drawing, this is what they explained to us, and you guys are the experts on the technical side. I'll just say the way that they explained it to us. If you have parents coming in that one Jenks entry and half of them are parking and trying to turn into a parking spot and or back out of a parking spot, and the other half are trying to get all the way through to drive, they're going through faster. I take your point about speed bumps, and there's too many incidents of kids walking through the parking lot. So for me, in all of this conversation about the alleys, I will tell you every single day and twice on Sunday, the safety of the kids is the most important to us. And if we have other facilities that have had these issues where drop-off and parking mixing is causing problems for young children 10 and under to get out of cars, that we wanted to move it and have two different entry points. I wish we had more space. There was a conversation we had with staff about potentially using some of that green area, and it was told to us the priority was to keep the green area on the northern side rather than to have that alley. So we are open to suggestions. The one suggestion that we saw, and we're going to study it more, so I don't want to say this 100%, but it didn't show two entry points. We're looking for an entry point for drop-off for safety and an entry point for parking, because you have half the parents that want to park and watch their kids, and the other half, like Katie mentioned, that just only want to drop off their kids. So that's our number one priority. I go back to it every single time. What's the safest thing for the kids? That's the most important to us, and that's the way we answer it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. I'm sure everybody would agree that safety of the kids is paramount. I am curious. Yeah, one moment. I am curious if there's other solutions though that can still satisfy that. For example, I've seen in parking lots, certain kind of safety walk zones right, that allow people to actually move a little more safely through the bulk of the lot. It seems like something like that would be helpful here. I'm just giving you this feedback because I'm getting the sense from the commission that this is a concern, so it might want to be something that you consider before next time. Okay, Commissioner, excuse me, Drush.
There's no need to answer this now, but when we talk about this the next time, I think sticking with this issue of parking, because I do agree that I actually think this is a pretty big concern as much as we're all excited about the project. My concern with the lot, with the alley usage, in addition to sort of the dynamic for residents, I'm concerned a little bit that it's just going to, in some ways, move the problem you're trying to address, by which I mean, depending on the number of people getting lined up in the lot. I understand there's a lot of hope of fast turnover. I get it. At the same time, there's going to be some pauses. There's going to be some lines. And I can really see parents who are in line and are like, you know what, forget this. My kid is old enough. Get out in the alley, cross over, and just get yourself in, kid. I don't even want to have to turn into this facility. I think it's really likely to happen. So no need to comment on it now, but I think just sort of thinking about all the various pieces of this we're trying to tease out, I would encourage you to think about if there's a risk of moving the problem into the alley as opposed to resolving the problem.
All right, Commissioner Mabadi.
Yeah, just as a follow-up to that, because I actually had a personal experience where this is many years ago when my adult children were children. I was dropping them off at Haven on Lincoln Avenue, and I would tuck my car into the alley and let them run out across the street to get to the school. I do it every morning, and I think that your point is well taken. You said something about if you had more space. I would like you to tell me what that means. Does that mean more space west or more space south? In terms of if you had more space from a design standpoint that you would be able to design differently, the parking and the egress that we're discussing here.
Yeah, I think Eric was just saying, like, the site is the size that it is. So if we had like more generally spaced, if we could add, pedestrian safety, if we had, I think it was just a general statement.
It was just general. If it was bigger, it'd be better for the problem. Okay,
right.
I get that. What are the hours that you guys are operating?
So the hours that we're...
Hours of operation.
Yep. I'm just pulling them up.
Not exactly, but... Because if this is for youth only, they're not going to be there at 9 o'clock in the morning. They're going to be at school. So what we're expecting would be Monday through Friday after school, 3:30 to 8:30. Saturday, 9 to 6, and Sunday, 9 to 5:30 is what we're currently expecting. Okay. Okay. Well, I think that wraps it up for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have a couple of, during the summer, would you have longer hours when the kids are not in school? Or would they be outside?
I think our focus, since we think it would be more utilized in the winter when kids are in school, so it would be after school. I mean, we did get feedback from a couple neighbors who weren't here tonight that they were like, could we use it for yoga during the day? We're like, oh, it's not our plan. But so, I mean, I think we're open to getting community feedback. That was one of the main pillars on the early slide is community partnership. So,
and just again, a follow up on the alley entrances. I think as a driver, if I was trying to drop off kids, I think that the parking lot entrance and the alley entrance would be very confusing. Especially until you kind of got into
I can tell you we will 100% be studying the alley after this feedback tonight. So yes, I appreciate that.
And I think that just would be.
Yeah, understood. We understand the point. Yeah, thank you. I understand.
I would be confused.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further comments or questions from commissioners? Okay. Hearing none. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so at this point, I understand that we've received written requests for continuances from several members of the public, and that is the official notification of those requests.
And we have one friend. Cook was here.
Yeah, and David
Right.
Cook, it was, right?
4 plus 1.
4 plus 1, yeah. You can follow up with staff after the meeting to make sure you get formally registered. So at this point, we are considered those requests being submitted, and we are obligated to honor those. So there, only the request has gone in right now. Have these people also submitted all of the criteria about the reasons and that kind of thing?
That's correct. Yep, I have all of that in writing.
Okay, great. So they have instructions about what their expectation is to do for the next meeting. That means we need to have a motion for to continue this case to the next to a date certain.
That's correct.
What do you recommend for that date?
Our recommendation, albeit anything out of our control, we're always going to recommend that you continue it to the next Land Use Commission hearing date, which would be August 12th, just to keep business rolling. You don't have to go with that recommendation. There's also August 26th or further dates in September, but our recommendation would be to go with August 12th.
Okay. I don't see any issue.
What else is going to be on our agenda?
Yep. We have two. So we have one case for a major variation, and then we have a second. It's a combined major variation and family necessity variation. And then that's it. Then this would go.
Okay. I'm still going to recommend that we go to August 12th, the next regularly scheduled meeting. Okay. Can I have a motion to continue this case to August 12th?
I move that we continue case number 26 PLND-0039 and number 26 PLND-0040 to August 12th.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Berlin, seconded by Commissioner Lindwall. Mr. Bebo, can we please have a vote?
Commissioner Berlin?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Lindwall?
Yes.
Commissioner Mabadi?
Yes.
Commissioner Mangum?
Yes.
Commissioner Marinchev?
Yes.
And Chair Pucktall?
Yes, 7-0. This case is continued. Thank you. We will follow up with next steps in preparation for that meeting with city staff. Do you want to say something?
I just want to remind, we'll need to close the public hearing as well at the end of this.
Is that correct, or is it still?
It's closing the public hearing, except to those who are having continuances granted.
Is it public hearing or public testimony? Are we just
Sorry,
closing
public
testimony?
Public testimony.
But not closing the record.
Right.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Let's do that more informally. Can I have a motion to close public testimony?
Okay. I move that public testimony be closed with respect to this case, with the exception of the individuals who are granted a continuance.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those against? Abstain? Okay, so the public testimony is closed. And so is this case for now. Next item on the agenda then is general public comment. So if you showed up tonight in order to speak on something other than the cases on the agenda, now is your opportunity. Can you raise your hand if that's you? Seeing none, we can move on to staff updates.
We just wanted to provide one quick update on the plan development application that you all reviewed a few weeks ago for the 3 Crowns development. So they are proceeding forward to their first city council meeting this coming Monday. And based on the record from the Land Use Commission, as well as some of the discussion items that came up, they did modify their site plan in order to provide a 10-foot setback for the parking areas in the northwest corner that they're proposing. And then they did change the orientation of those parking spaces as well to be parallel parking spaces and not I think it's 45-degree angled. It also resulted in a reduction of a few parking spaces, I think 3 or 4. And so that is the plan that they have decided to move forward with to the city council on.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that update. Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn for the evening.
I second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against? Abstain? We are now adjourned. Thank you very much.